Yeah, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar about working with numbers, basics, metrics, and financials. And I'm Ayşe Turunç. I'm working for CSR working with CSR as a system artist at the moment, and I will be trying to support Yamaç actually with the Q&A session, with the comments that I can do what I can. And we are looking for the session for a long time, and this session will be recorded and it's on live at the moment at social media, at YouTube and LinkedIn, as you can see. So you can watch the video afterwards, after the live session. Also, chat is free for you, and we will try to answer whatever question you have with Yamaç. Let me introduce myself before giving the microphone to Yamaç. I'm one of the system artists, as I told earlier. I work as a transformation coach at the moment, coaching at the moment, and I work with Yamaç and Ilyas, Süha, with them in our company. And I'm a coactive coach, trying to support the individuals as well as an agile coach. So it's over to you, Yamaç. We are with you, and I will try to support you whatever you want.
Thank you. As Aisha mentioned, I'll be supported. I'm in good hands. Last time we were doing this high performing teams webinar, and it was a little bit feeling lonely as we are talking to each other, but we don't see the audience. But in this backstage, it felt like that. So we decided that let's do all our webinars together. So I appreciate Aisha being here. And without further ado, I introduce myself and go into the business. So my name is Yamaç. I'm also one of the co-founders and system artists in SysArt, which is a decentralized systems thinking based transformation consulting company that we founded all together as with the co-partners that Aisha mentioned. I'm originally a computer engineer. Then I switched my major into the more industrial engineering area and liked it. Then I finished my PhD in management engineering, and I have some background in operations, project management, transformation, agile, and all of that, some certificates as you see in the screen. So without further ado, let's jump into the topic, which is working with numbers, metrics, some knowledge bites, finances, statistics, some nerd stuff as you hear. So you see some post-its in the mirror, and I'm trying to be as quick as possible, simplifying them in a way that can be understood easily and at the same time can be applied in practice. So I also prepared an example. And in the meantime, if something happens, you cannot hear me, you have any questions, Ayşe will be there to support me. So let's start. Types of data. So we talked about metrics, and we have two types of data when we talk about metrics. One is qualitative. Qualitative data is about describing things. So it's descriptive. Being descriptive means, example is this webinar. I'm giving qualitative data to you. I'm providing some descriptions about stuff. So color of something is qualitative. And the other one is quantitative, which is about numbers. So these are metrics. So we are focusing on this area. So I'll just distinguish them with another color. So before going into that, I am going to provide some basic information about what statistics is about. So some data we have, we do try to extract information. So we have data, we'd like to know about it, and then we need to decide something, and we may also even want to turn that into knowledge. So we observe, we try to analyze, and then start commenting on it. So to do that, there are some tools. So very basic measurements like your weight, your height, they are very easy. You can immediately talk about decisions after them. But if you have more complex, I would say more complicated data, you might need some additional tools, some formulas, some mathematical calculations, or as you see in the screen, statistics. So in statistics, I mostly like to talk about some basic definitions first, which I'm going to visit all the time. So first one is mean. Mean is the average. We have numbers and we sum them up and divide them by the number of numbers, and then we have mean. Very easy. The second one is standard deviation. Whoops. Standard deviation is about how data is dispersed from the mean. And then we square that with squared standard deviation, and then we have variance. Variance is the how it is describes how far each point from the mean. You see two basic concepts that we're going to visit all the time. So there are different types of distribution. Distribution means we have some series of data. Let's give an example. We have 1, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, and 1. So this has a distribution of very perfect normal, right? So it goes like this. Let's draw something on top. It goes like this when it comes to average. So if the distribution is normal, then we can easily say if I select a number random data in this data set, I'm confident that it will have some distance from the mean. So there are different types of distribution. I will not go into details, but one of them is skewness. It goes into left and right, and kurtosis. It goes like this. So my drawing is fairly ugly, so I will not try to draw them, but I'm going to put some screenshots. So basics, we go into mean, standard deviation, variance, and distribution. So we have some data, we have some numbers out of that data, which are calculated in some formula here, and we're going to do a real example after.
Yeah, much.
So
I feel that I'm in a college now at the moment. So
yeah,
you're like a doctor at the moment for us. Thank you for that. You're learning. So actually,
thank you.
we are remembering what we have learned in our engineering schools. I hope everybody, most of us, know that. That was a real good opening for us to remember the things. Thank you.
Thank you, Aisha, for comments. And again, if you have any question or if you want to do a devil's advocate, you're more than welcome. So I'm going to be more nerd about it. So one thing that I really like the most is let's draw a coordinate plane. You remember this coordinate plane back to high school, as Aisha mentioned. So this is a basic coordinate plane. So we have x-axis and we have y. So why did I draw this? Is to explain how one data set can cause the other. So imagine that we have a line like this, and the formula of this line is x, y equals x. So imagine that y you don't know, but x you know. X is 2. So if in this area, if you see that this line and put x on somewhere, you would immediately go to y-axis and you would know what y is. So in here, y is dependent on x, and x is independent.
Mhm.
And I'm touching to some area which we're going to do some complex calculations. Imagine that we have something like this. So still very easy. If x is 2, then y is 8. So by this formula, we can try to calculate the independent variable, which is y. Where am I coming to at this? I really like this term as a background process in everywhere I work and in everywhere that I try to make use of, make sense of data, which is called regression analysis. So in regression analysis, we have an independent variable and we have dependent variables. And why do we have something like this? Is to understand some data set with different, let me draw something new like here. Understand the data set and try to guess the formula, and then we have some causal relationship. Imagine that you have this observations. So I'm putting more dots.
Mhm.
So I try to draw a line that is closest to these dots. But let's say we also have some outliers over here. So that line goes something like this, right? So that line's formula gives me the formula of how I'm going to guess if I observe an x in this coordinate plane and calculate y. So this is basic regression. Something causes or correlates, I'm going to come to that, with another. So this is basic statistics that I'd like to mostly talk about. And I'm going to reference to these concepts a lot. So moving on to types of indicators. You have heard maybe this, lagging and leading. And most of the time we hear these in our Kanban metrics, we hear are in, I don't know, KPIs, key performance indicators, whatever metrics that we are using. So lagging means it's about the past. It happened. So lagging means we have red dots already. So we have observed them, we have seen how they changed, and it happened. So we can react on it. In leading, this can give something about future, and it can lead into something. So leading in the indicator means that it is uncertain. I don't know it will happen or not. But lagging is certain. For leading, I can be more proactive. In leading, I can be preventive. So you you watch your gauge or I don't know, weight as a leading indicator. If you gain a lot of weight, it can cause into some heart diseases, whatever you have. Let's immediately write the regression formula. If y is heart diseases, then you have some sort of coefficient here. Let's write down a times x is your weight. So if you increase in weight, then you're going to have trouble with your heart. So I'm looking at my weight as a leading indicator. So it can lead into something, and I need to be preventive about it. If I look at it as a lagging indicator, I can create additional causal relations to be absolute certain. So again, additional information about types of indicators. So let's go to attributes of good metrics. So these are the basics. We have quantitative data and we would like to turn that into information. how we are going to do that and how we are going to actually understand that it actually helps us. So I'm going to give some attributes here, and along with that, I'm going to give some examples, but I'll try to skip the theoretical part as fast as possible to go into the practice one. So, attributes of good metrics. Let's say clear information towards a goal. I have a goal. I need to reach somewhere, and it needs to give me clear information. I need to be healthy. Why? Because of something I need to do. It's a goal. And for that, I have some metrics. I gauge my waist, I gauge my, I don't know, weight, all of that. I gauge the amount of gym visits that I have. I gauge how much weight that I can do with a bit of pull up or push training, etc., etc. So I can come up with a lot of things, but it needs to have clear information towards a goal. How many gym visits do I have? It may not give any clear information, so it may be a bad metric for me, but it also should help make more informed decisions. So if I gain weight and if I want to lose weight, so if I gauge more in the next day, I can change my decisions. Again, it should be simple and easy to measure. What does that mean? Sometimes in business life, we come up with metrics, and as such, we just measuring it takes weeks. Like, hey, Yamach, where is the report? I need to see it. And after 2 weeks, I'm able to come up with it in different Excel sheets with different calculations. And I waste a lot of time just to take a decision where I could have taken earlier. It should initiate a positive change. So these are actually traveling together, like simple and easy to measure, yes. More informed decisions, yes. And it should yield into some positive change. So, and additionally, this is a little bit difficult. Correlation means two different sets of data are traveling together and they're affecting, they are affecting each other. For example, if I drink a lot of water, let's say I'm more successful in business life and I have data to prove it, but it doesn't make any sense. It's just I don't want to say it causes that. So based on the data that I have, I see that they're traveling together, but I would do my comments or base my discussions on more like correlation. But in causality, I am confident that one sets of data causing another set of data everywhere in the same circumstances. So based on my observations, based on my type of data and also circumstances, and again how I'm doing my controlled experiments.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the examples, because it means that it can be proven by the person. So there should be proof of something, right?
Yes, exactly.
Mm.
Nice word, by the way. I would say evidence.
Evidence. Mm-hmm.
So it should give me a proper evidence, prove something,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can take decisions. If I take decisions based on some, I don't know, manipulative, or I don't want to use that word, but let's say some false data that I have, um, it would have been the wrong decision. So
Great.
check yourself. Are you confident making decisions based on what these metrics tell you? Does it create an exhaustive overhead just to measure it? Is it hard to understand what it indicates? Will it yield into any action if it changes? So these are the attributes. So ask yourself all the time when you're looking at these numbers. So let's go into the practice one. I spent a handful of around 17 minutes talking about this nerdy stuff, but we remembered that's nice. I'm going to refer to this one most of the time. So, going to the agile world, and the most abstract number that you see in everywhere is this story points. And if you Google this one, you're going to find a hell of a lot of details. It's about planning, it's about team performance, all of that, both right and wrong misconceptions and right, maybe on spot explanations. But let's refine this. So we are using story points, and you saw these series, the Fibonacci series. And the reason that it is used to simulate that the bigger work item that I have, the less precision that I have. So I don't have the ability to guess if something is 10 or 11. I should either choose 8 or 13. The bigger it is, the less precision that I have. That is the only reason. So to calculate that, I have some sub components. Let's select 3. Amount of work. Let's say uncertainty. And let's also select, I don't want to use complexity, but maybe I would say risk. So 3 different attributes, they are determining how story point is calculated in this example. So immediately let's write down a regression formula. Let's say y is story point. Amount of work is x1. Let me increase in size. x2 is uncertainty. x3 is risk. So how I calculate story point is some coefficient times work plus some coefficient times uncertainty plus some coefficient times risk. So if I add more, I have more. So basically, I have this formula in the background to calculate my story point. Some people would do in their gut feeling that the risk is a lot of much more important than uncertainty when it comes to calculating story points. That means C is larger than B. So I don't care. I'm just looking at this as these 3 things in my world is affecting my story point. So this is an abstract causality that I make up. Why? Just to increase my reliability and predictability. This is the only reason. Which reliability and predictability I'm talking about? Planning. So I can take more informed decisions, here it is, when it comes to plan my work. High story point or lower story point, I don't know, velocity, it does not indicate anything about when it comes to performance, when it comes to, I don't know, individual work. I am not looking at that. It gives me correlation, but they're not the cause of it. So it's dangerous to go there. That's why when it comes to story point, if a team is increasing its story point, that doesn't mean they're much more successful. They're just increasing a number. And I'm going to prove that. So let's talk about real example, and I will stop my sharing my screen, and I will share my ugly Excel sheet to move forward.
At that point, I am expecting lots of questions because most of the time we have questions about the story point a lot, right? Yamaç?
Yes, actually, I'm seeing that I'm just checking my comments.
At the moment, yeah, as you're told that data doesn't lie, but seems doesn't tell the whole truth, especially in terms of decision making. There is a comment about that.
Yes, I like that. Again, this is also how science is perceived. Science doesn't give absolute truth. It's pursuing that, but no one can achieve absolute truth. You can say my findings are accurate or significant in a sample size, but
Mm,
you cannot say it's true. Newton, Isaac Newton's findings, they are um, valid. Yes, it's observed, but we still cannot find it. Why? Albert Einstein's theory is also valid, but it's not the absolute truth. So it's still being ongoing. There's an ongoing research. We still collect data to reach that, which is unreachable. So nice comment. Thank you. So I'll share my ugly Excel sheet as I mentioned. Let's go into, hopefully I will not make any mistakes. Whoops. Um, Metrics webinar. So I think it's visible now. Nice. So we have 6 sprints, and these are completed story points.
mhm,
And let's run some additional refinements on this one. Let's calculate the average first. So in my 6th sprint, if I calculate my average, let's say it's 49.1. What does that tell me? Well, I finished 55, I finished 44, and in sprint 7, if I plan around 49, I should be good, right? But what
mhm,
happens if I plan 60? And I cannot go around it. It's not, the real life can be messy. I can say, oh, we have a deadline. We need to, I don't know, increase our velocity, let's say. So, uh, when it comes to these dilemmas, let's go to our standard deviation.
By the way, Yamash, questions are starting to come. I will ask them after your Excel sheet. Okay?
Good, good.
Okay.
So, standard deviation formula,
Mhm,
let's click on it. And let's say we have, okay, this is 4. So, the data is deviating with this number, and half dispersed this data is telling me 4. So the distance from each and every data from the mean, um, and sum of squares divided by number of samples minus 1. It's the standard deviation formula. So I want to calculate upper and lower limits. How do I do that? I go up 3 standard deviations, which is 12, add that 12 to my average. So it's 61. Let's say 49 plus 12. And lower limit is I go 3 standard deviations down. Let me write the formula. So it tells me statistically, if you stay below 61, there is a big chance that you're going to make it because you have finished 55 before. And with this deviation, you can deviate upwards. I'm just attacking this with a basic approach. So if it's 37, if it's below 37, you're likely to finish it in 100% success rate, and maybe you are under committing. So
mhm,
above 61 is over committing, below 37 is under committing. This methodology is also being used in production quality. The
mhm,
less fluctuation that I have, the more quality that I have in production. So just attacking this with basic tools helps me to take more informed decisions. This is about planning accuracy. So if I say 65, as Oz mentioned, if I decide on that, I'm going to most probably fail because I have never fluctuated that much in my past historical data. So this is very simple. And I'm not overdoing it. I'm just using this data series to take more informed decisions, and I'm getting help from the statistics. I'm not saying it is right, it is wrong, but it helps me take decisions. So, what happens if I have a lot of fluctuations? If I go like that. So, you
mhm,
see, the standard deviation is increased significantly. That means if I go 3 sigma standard deviation up and down, I have a lot of wiggle room, which is not giving me a proper data to decide on. So that also gives me something to maybe change my approach to take more informed decision. That's what I really like. There's no right or wrong, and I just stick to one approach. I change it to look the data in a different way because this data is fluctuating now. This is less fluctuating. Why fluctuation is bad is it's because the circumstances are the same. I would like to control the variables as much as possible to find the causes behind what I'm doing right or wrong. So abstract numbers is much more difficult in that area. That's why I'm using these basic methodologies. So let's go back to the Miro board.
Before
And
going
let's
back,
focus on,
can,
yeah.
can we ask a question from Bengi? Instead of estimating story points, can we start using throughput or cycle time metrics? And what is your experience about these metric transaction for customer and team perspective? Bengi is asking.
I would say depends on the context. Classical consultant answer, but I really like these metrics that we calculate in, especially in a Kanban system. Throughput is something that we find as a value, and if the throughput is increasing, that means that we are providing more value. And cycle time is something that we pursue to be shortest and sustainable. So they are influencing my business value. So let's have another formula. Let's say y is my business value and x1 is cycle time. And let's say x2 is throughput. And let's add one more. Let's say waste. So y equals a times x1 plus b times x2 minus c times x3 because I want to decrease that. So also I would like to decrease cycle time. The directions are not important. So let's say we have a formula in the background process that we use. We go into cycle time, we go into throughput, we go into waste. A lot of metrics that we calculate. Why? Because we want to know how it is influencing our business value. So estimating story points, that helps me only to be predictable in planning. If I have another goal, don't do that. If I want to increase the business value or provide more value to my customers, yes, cycle time and throughput are better metrics than story points because story points have no connection to value whatsoever. Exactly. We have a comment. Velocity is not necessarily value. Exactly. So how we approaching that? Let's go here. Clear information towards a goal. Velocity is not giving me any clear information towards value. So debunk. Let's go back to another question if we have any.
Actually, Ule has another comment. Story points are mostly needed for background charts, time-bounded estimates. Risk and complexity do not work in this case. Only the effort. According to his experience, I think he has this comment.
Yes, in some cases it's easy, and when we ask a team, how risky is this? How complex is this? We cannot get a nice answer because it's difficult to calculate that with a gut feeling. So basically, immediately we go into how much time will it take, and that also can give us wrong data to take bad decisions. The reason that I'm saying that is that most probably we are confusing schedule performance and cost performance, effort and time duration. So if something that I have, if I spent 5 minutes of my time and it's finished, but I'm waiting for 2 weeks for something to happen. And if I'm asked, I would say 2 weeks. I'm going to complete it in 2 weeks. I'm not going to say 5 minutes because it's not going to happen. But the actual effort is five. So you see, I'm missing something in the background. If I'm asked like that, how much time will it take? I'm going to manipulate my answer automatically, and that's expected. So I'm missing the waste. I'm waiting for 2 weeks, and I'm taking that for granted. So how you approach these, how you set up the metric system, also shapes the behavior around it. So I saw some teams that are measured their performances by story points. So they were manipulating the story points and inflating them. So if I'm asked 2 weeks of waste, I'm going to say yes. It's the 2 weeks of waste is value for me because I'm asked that way. So how you are approaching to the variables, it's very important. Question everything.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we have 24 minutes. I might want to go into some financial metrics. Let's see if that's going to ignite additional questions. I'm going to be as quick as possible. So imagine that you are investing $100 or euros. Euros are easier for in my keyboard today, and next year I'm investing this, so it is minus again. Something wrong with my head. So next year I'm going to get 100 euros back. So what is the payback period? It is 1 year. So if I'm investing some amount of money and if I'm going to get it after a year, it's 1 year. So let's do another example. I invest 200 euros. I get 100 euros 1 year later, and 1 year later I get 100 more. So in this example, payback period is 2 years. So based on that decision, I'm a CEO. I'm asked, hey, Yamaç, you have 2 projects. If you are investing your money, you're going to get your money back in 1 year, and the other is you're going to get your money in 2 years. So I'm going to select, of course, the first project. But there's something missing. And that is the time value of money. Why would I go and invest 100 euros today and get 100 back if I just use a deposit account which gives me 10% interest and I would get 110 euros after a year, again with my base money? So the time value of money gives me an additional layer of decision making. So payback period doesn't calculate that. To calculate that, we have net present value. So if I have a discount rate of 10%, what is the discount rate? The discount rate is coming from weighted average cost of capital. Let me give me a brief, simple example. There's money. I want to increase that. So I do some operations. I sell some products. I don't know. I buy some food. I sell that food. I buy some, fruit. I sell that fruit in a market, and then I increase that money. Right? I do trade. So if there are multiple companies that are working to increase that money at the same time in an economical system, there's an average. So if you have that average, and if you calculate that average based on the performance, financial performances of those all economical, sub-economical effects at the same time, you're going to get a number, which means that if you are sit with your money, it's going to cost you. So you have 100 euros, and if you don't do anything about it, and if you spend 100 euros in 1 year, you're going to lose 10% of it. So that's the time value of money. Because the other companies around you, or the deposit accounts, they are giving 10% at least. So if you are performing better than that, you are profitable. If you are performing less than that, it's non-profitable. So you're not keeping up with it. That means net present value should be above your discount rate. So you need
So,
to perform better than the average.
yeah, most of
Very, very simplified. Yeah.
aware about it because of the Turkish economical now at the moment. So I
Yeah,
think most of us
of course.
are
In
working on
in yeah, in Turkish lira, this is 100. So
it.
so you need to double your money so that it just preserves its value. So what happens when we look at 2 years and we calculate them, and we by the way, this is not net present value. Let's say performance of discount rate. That means it needs to be above 0. If I say discount rate, it should be. I'm diving into a lot of different topics, so sorry for that. If I say discount rate, it should be internal rate of return. IRR. So these three basic calculation methods are used to select which project or strategy is more valuable than the other. So payback period, it's quick. It says 1 year you're gonna get your money back. So let's go. You can take quick decisions based on that. You see, I'm taking decisions. So again, if I go like 10-year projects, payback period will damage me in high inflation environment, and I'm gonna need more. So if I go net present value, I need to be above 0 so that I can keep up with the average. So, but that's not enough. If I'm talking about 200, 100 euros, that's okay. But if I'm talking about 200 billion euros, and the net present value gives me a lot of I don't know, additional stuff. So I need to know the rate of return. So if it's not 10.1% and I'm earning, if I'm to inform me that I'm not earning 100 million euros by investing 100 billion euros, I need to know that. So if it's like 25%, perfect. I have 3 different indicators that I have to take informed decisions. Payback period, quicker one, some amount of money that I'm gonna get today, and with what kind of a rate that I'm going to get. So again, I can do some calculations, but we have 17 minutes. Maybe we can go into questions and answering. Maybe Ayşe, you can ask some questions. Again, these are some nerd stuff. I can do
Yeah.
maybe a part 2 depending on the demand.
Yeah, I have one question in my mind, so I would like to give you a space for your drinking water because it affects
Thank you.
you. I know. So if I'm working with if I am a product owner, let's say, how can I use these numbers to prioritize the backlog or prioritize the work that I have that
Mhm.
I can make happy customers or stakeholders I have?
First question, what is the target?
Hmm.
So you said make customers happy, right?
Yeah.
So my why is customer happiness. So let's think of what can cause this. So if I spend less money, my customer can be happy. I'm just making these up. So X is costs, X1. Let's say if customer is happy when I have a lot of users, they're happy. Let's say if um, I'm generating revenue, more revenue per employee, it's X3. And I don't have any critical, let's say escape defects. If I don't have any defects in the production, my customer is happy. So I'm setting up my causal relations like this. It makes sense, yeah. If I spend less money, they're happy, they're reporting it. If I have more users, they're reporting that they are happy. I can create um, a survey to check this out. So I can calculate these costs. And the easiest one is cost of a sprint.
Hmm.
How much does it take? How much money does it take to finish one sprint, finish one experiment? It's very important. We mostly take that for granted.
Right.
And how do we calculate that? Do we need to know the salaries of everyone? No. Just get an average. That's fine. So we need to know how much money we are investing. Just verbalizing that creates a big impact. That impact is referencing to the also fifth layer of high performing teams, this function of inattention to results. So if we know the costs, I know the result. If I spend a lot of time in sprints without any creating any value, I need to be disturbed about it. So amount of users, very easy. This can be collected from database.
Mhm.
So you mentioned about priorities, and I'm going to come to there. So revenue per employee. This is my product's sales over employee number of employees.
Mhm.
So escape defects. Again, easy. Database. Some number. So I'm going to create a feature. First, I ask the question, why do I do that? I can decrease costs. I can do that to increase amount of users. I can do this and that. Even I can create a feature just to decrease the number of defects, or just run a 2 week sprint just to fix the defects. I can do that. And how do I decide? Let's write down our formula again. Y equals something times x1, something times x2, and so on. Let me write them all because it's going to be important. So this is my formula. So when I ask why, I need to answer based on these, because I need to increase the amount of users. So for me, if B is higher than A and C and D at that time in my mind, or I can create even real numbers and decide, do some calculation and say, okay, this feature has a Y of, I don't know, 100, while the other feature has 70. How did I calculate that? I guessed. I used a hypothesis. So I'm prioritizing that based on my hypothesis. I don't know the priority yet. Real priority, real need. I'm going to run an experiment. So, secondly, I might know the real requirement. Less likely, because the real life is messy. This requirement thing is it's happening after users actually use the product. I'm talking about the product, by the way, when you mentioned prioritization. So I need to know if it's actually creating a change with these metrics. As the product owner, if I see less costs and more money, I would say, let's say, not costs, let's say profit margin. So if I increase my profit margin when I deploy a feature to a production, I would say, yes, I accept the benefit hypothesis if I write down my hypothesis like that. So going to the simple area, I need to also know about the cost, yes. There's a formula called weighted shortest job first. So again, it has some components like cost of delay and size of the work. So this formula gives me an abstract number to decide on the priority. It's much more easier than these shenanigans because it gives me some um, it gives me an educated guess based on what I have in my mind, and then create more informed decisions. There are tools to help me to take informed decisions based on some numbers that I can make up or actually measure them and then validate them afterwards.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you very much. Also, they might make the alignment between the people who decides what to prioritize, right? The alignment also is one of the
Perfectly used words, Aisha. Thank you.
great, great.
This creates magic. Why? Because the product owner comes up with something and tells this needs to be done. Why? I don't know. You need to do it. When you don't know the why and when you don't know the purpose and the impact, you are not motivated to create that. So alignment is something that happens when you use tools like this. When a product owner says, "Yes, we are doing it because it's going to increase the product sales. We're doing it because a strategic decision that we need to have, and we need to have zero defects in the next quarter." I don't know. I'm just making them up, but these are the information that aligns us with the very people that going to decide and people who are actually doing the work. And that's what's important in agile software development or any agile development.
Great, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. Also, we have a question from Oğuz. Before that, Idin has a comment.
Mm-hmm.
She says that BC is the most important money is customers' money. But what's BC? I don't know here.
I think it's because, yeah.
Because the most important money is customers' money.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
When I was mentioning, yes, exactly.
yeah, thank you for that. And one of the most important measures is user satisfaction, told Ule before that.
Mm-hmm.
And Oğuz has a question. How to use statistics or numbers to explain the success of product? What metrics can be helpful? He asks. Yeah, thank you.
Um, I think Mustafa already answered this question, but let's say
Mhm,
context based, yes,
mhm.
exactly. Let me give a broader example. Thank you, Mustafa, by the way, for contribution. So I like to go and check the context first. So if the product is generating money out of, I don't know, again, like Mustafa mentioned, in video game or a mobile game, the whole world of metrics change in my mind because I need to know less defects, player base, the income from the ads, whatever. But there is something that I really like to focus to calculate business value, which is called evidence based management. And there are four components of business value in this guide. And I really recommend that and go into these. Also, there are some like CI/CD DevOps metrics in that. Also, first one is current value, how much money is the product is generating, or if the customers are happy, users are satisfied. Unrealized value. This is about market share, the potential value, ability to innovate, the ability to create value, and time to market. Because if we wait, it's going to cost us, as I mentioned in the time value of money, and also there is a cost of delay. Maybe if I go into production in 2 weeks, I'm going to get a lot of money, but if I wait for 6 months, it's going to be outdated. So time to market is also important. So I gauge them and decide based on them. But the real value lies on the goal of the product. What is the goal? Always focus on that. Don't just blindly measure things to decide to beautify those metrics. It doesn't make any sense. Let's go to the checklist. Clear information towards a goal. If I don't have a goal, measuring something is nonsense.
Exactly. I
So,
can go if you
yep.
want. There's one question. Also, before that, open the mention of Yasar. She's asked Idil, why customers indeed? Yeah, why customers also we need to ask. I think Idil has added here. Thank you, Idil. Also, we have a question.
Mhm.
What
Yeah.
metrics to use for measuring agile maturity in the team? That's different,
Oh, okay.
different question.
I can go on and on. Okay, when it comes to
I think.
Idil's why customers remark,
Okay.
so the reason that we say that it's complex is that the existence of our entities are depending on people who are consuming our services, products, projects, operations, whatever. So they're called customers. That's why we're focusing them. So we're trying to extract information out of a human being. So it's the very difficult part. That's why we are doing all of these Miro boards, um, developments, agile, DevOps, all of that all together. So, what metrics to use for measuring agile maturity in the team? I would say if they are achieving their goals and getting close to their product goal, and um, if you can identify metrics um, to understand that they are actually closing on their target, they are mature enough. But when it comes to maturity, it can be about behaviors. So measuring maturity, assessing that, it's a little bit tricky. The reason that I'm telling this is because the maturity measured two ways. One is contextual targets, like the efficiency of meetings or self management efficiency, and we just check some behaviors and consistency of those behaviors. So I'm going to qualitative data now. So if I see if people are not blaming each other in, I don't know, in a retrospective, or they are receiving good feedback in the reviews, or they are just creating value and being proactive about creating value and talking to the customer without creating any frictions, without creating any waste, yes, they are creating value. But I would go in two ways. First is operational agility, how quick I am and how adaptive I am. The other one is business agility, how my actions actually affecting my survivability in digital era. So it's two different area. So when it comes to maturity, I ask, why are you measuring maturity? What's the goal? So if the goal is to increase business agility performance, which is gauged by some, I don't know, some financial metrics, that's fine, because there are substantial evidence to support that higher maturity teams generate higher value to their customers. So first, identify your axis and then decide on the goal. Action, output, in outcome. Yes, exactly. So we have 2 minutes left. When it comes to evidence, I would like to also remind about our survey. We are also collecting some data to increase our service quality, I would say, and to see the to survey what's going on actually in different types of um, um, environments and events happening around us. So this one is about, I think, is sprint reviews, right, Aisha?
Yeah, yeah. Can we put the link of this survey on the chat again? I couldn't do that. So it is about sprint reviews, and we have questions there, not too many. So we are asking you, how do you find the attributes of your team and the other things? So please respond it with the email or, addresses you have, so that we can reach you, colleagues. Yeah, you can see here.
Thanks, Mertjan. Mertjan is also our operational specialist, the hidden hero in the background.
Yeah, kudos to
So
him.
let's spend like 5 more minutes. If there are no questions, we can end the session early.
Hmm.
Not early, on time, I would say, because 1 hour already passed.
Mm-hmm.
So I stop my screen so we see each other better, and I am going to put you on the left. Yes. By the way, it's not on fire, it's my humidifier. If you are, I didn't receive any questions about
Yeah,
that,
we were
thankfully,
expecting this question, right?
because I never realized how visible it is. I think there are
Mm.
no
Yeah.
additional questions. I would say thank you for your time, and this will be recorded and you can access this video, and I'm going to also share the Miro board, which is read only public, so you can check what is going on there, and if you have any additional questions, feel free to shoot. Add us in LinkedIn, so we can also share our blog posts. We share our some thank you.
Thank you very much for this wide information you gave to us. I learned a lot of things from you again. Thank you for your sharing and honesty during this session. And have a good evening to everyone.
Thanks a lot, Aisha, for supporting me. It was a pleasure as always. And thank you, Oz, for thanking us. And thank you.
Thank you.
Best of winter.
Best evening. Thank you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
wonderful evening, everyone. See you in the next one.
See you.